BlogTalk Radio.
Okay, well, I'm just going to take this from here. Can somebody please tell me if you can hear me in the chat? Because it feels like I'm not connected. Oh, you can hear me. Oh, okay, thanks, Katie. I was wondering about that. We don't know what happened, but I couldn't get my intro music to come in. So, and we're waiting for Diane to join us, and we're waiting for Anton to call in from South Africa. And then we're going to start. But what I'm going to do, just to start out while everybody gets situated, I'm going to just go back to what Anton Cloete wrote this week about people putting in their due diligence and everything that people have been doing to make this all happen, like reading all the UCC filings, the articles, the blogs, any other sources dealing with the OPPT, listening to almost every conversation, talk, the YouTube presentations, the internet radio commentary about OPPT, everything they could find, they read, they looked into it, they did their homework. And other people were participating in Facebook, flash mobs. I know Diane is doing a lot of flash mobbing, emailing mainstream media outlets and other social networks. Some people have been conducting the OPTT meetings in their communities, their churches, their homes, and public places. So we're very thankful to all these people that have been doing everything to bring us to this point of the IUV, which we'll talk about later, and particularly to Anton Cloete, which I'm going to bring him in right now. He just dialed in, and he has done a stunning, phenomenal presentation for the people of South Africa. Okay, we're having a little trouble connecting to Anton. So I'll carry on with this introduction. So there's other people that have been studying and completing the courtesy notices and invoices to make others aware of the changes in the lawful landscape of the earth. Communicating with friends, neighbors, community leaders, national leaders, and anyone else who will listen about OPPT, which I will now, from this point on, refer to as the One People. And Anton, if you manage to get into the chat, can you let me know what's going on there and how come you're not able to get through, please?
Hi, Jane, can you hear me?
Anton and I we started chatting this morning just to have a discussion about how the show would go today, and we ended up chatting for over an hour almost, and we found we were really, really very much on the same page, and it was great fun to talk to him. So I'm just wondering what's going on and why it is that I can't seem to get Anton. Anton, can you hear us now? Okay, so then the other things that people have been doing is challenging the current paradigm of fear. That's been a huge challenge, especially with these bombings and fires and bombs hitting fertilizer plants and just the never-ending barrage of fear of God putting into us. Audio is choppy off and on, at least for me. Anton is trying to talk, but Jane doesn't seem to hear him. Oh, thank you so much. What's going on now? Katie?
Hi, Jane, can you hear me?
Hi, everybody. Am I reconnected? Uh-oh, this is another one of those damn shows, right? Where nothing goes right and... Oh, there's Diane. Hello, is that
Hi,
you, Diane?
It is me.
Oh,
Hi.
Goodness.
I was wandering around in the in-between world, I think. Anyway, we're here. Is Tim in too?
Yeah, Tim is right by my side, and I opened up the studio so he could look at the board and familiarize himself with it.
I see. Okay. So I don't know where I was going wrong, but okay. We're all here, and one way or the other.
So can anybody hear Anton?
Hi, Jane, Diane, Tim.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi,
Can
Anton.
you hear me?
Lovely.
I can hear you all the time, but you can't hear me. Rather frustrating, I must say.
Well, welcome, Anton. We're very honored to have you here, and I'm sure there's going to be lots of questions for you because you've been really so successful with your presentation that you gave in South Africa. And mainly the reason I called you was because of the most loving way in which you presented all this terrible information that people, you know, when they first hear about it, they want to go run away and hide under a rock, right? But the way that you do it, it brings people slowly to the realization, and then you tell them about the one people and bring it all around, and it's just a beautiful thing. Would you like to talk a little bit about that?
Yes, Jen, thank you. First, let me say it's an honor and absolute pleasure to be here with you on the show. It's amazing to be part of this whole process and be in a position where I can actually share information, help bring it across. I compiled the presentation basically from my own experience. I mean, I have a lot of friends that are not clued up, that may have heard of it or not at all about the whole OPPT thing, people that may or may not be aware of the whole control issues, the cabal, the shadow governments, people that may or may not have heard of the Freeman system, and my concept of bringing this knowledge to the everyday person who's never heard of all these things, who's never researched them, was to make it as simple as possible and have a very definite storyline where the next step builds upon the previous step. And I mean, I can recall my own shock when I first read about the OPPT and the UCC filings that had been done. As I also mentioned in the presentation, it took me a good 2 weeks to really contemplate, work through the documentation, and understand what the UCC filings mean, and from there on starting to figure out what does it mean to me in my everyday life? What does it mean for the whole world? I've said it often, it's big.
Well, at this point, Anton, I'd like you to introduce you to my co-host Tim Morris too, so just so that you know he's here if he has any questions.
Hi, Tim.
Hello, Anton. How are you?
I'm very well, rocking and ready to share whatever you guys want to tap out of me.
Anything we can get.
You got it all, baby.
And hello, Diane. I don't know, a little confusion there.
Oh, no worries.
Good.
The big scheme of things, I think I've mastered the art of not worrying because, like I was saying to Jane yesterday, it's all going to go the way it goes. And there's no fail. There's no error. It all works the way it's supposed to. So here we go.
Here we go.
Here we go, and it's lovely to meet you, Anton. I have to say, when I connected with you yesterday, huge energy, and I'm not one that would profess to be honing in on all the energies that other people were feeling way back, but I had this incredible bolt of total calmness and almost euphoria after we connected on Facebook. So listening to your speak with the group, beautiful, the way you do it, your energy, and it's because it's coming from your heart. People cannot fake it till they make it in this. It's either absolute, transparent, pure, or not.
Well, Diane, thank you very much. Yes, our message exchanges we did on Facebook was quite enjoyable from my side too. It's a lovely energy you carry as well. And, you know, I'm quite amazed, honestly, by the responses I get from the people that have watched the video of the presentation that I've made available on YouTube. Both you and Jane tonight as well. I mean, it's amazing. It's heartwarming to me that my humble contribution, which I'm putting out there and sharing with everybody to do with whatever they want to, copy it, download it, share it, publicize it, do whatever, use parts of it. But it's really, it's so enjoyable for me to hear and see that my humble contributions are contributing towards the spreading of knowledge.
And I wonder, Diane, maybe you could put the link in the chat.
I'm ready with that. I have it right here now. When you say go into the chat with it, this is experimental, so bear with me. But I have the link up, and do I click on small chat or?
Just click on small chat.
Okay.
Chat.
Just making sure I'm not hitting the self-eject button.
Yeah, right. Well, I have to explain to everybody that Diane just came on as a co-host, so she's got the studio too, so that I get some backup and some help, because I was doing everything all by myself.
She's really worried about doing all of it herself. How she's been doing all this by herself.
Tim, but is this not
right.
where we're moving towards? Is the whole community thing, and we're all supporting each other?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Exactly. Yeah, you got it. That's why we're not afraid of screwing up a little something, you know. Sure, ask a question or two, and then step in there. And oh well, if I posted your link on some other whole place, it was supposed to go there. So I've posted Anton's link. If someone can have a look and let me know that it's actually showing where it's supposed to show, that would be great. If not, I will keep it handy.
Is it Anton.Cloete.1?
It's the intro YouTube.
Yeah, that looks like a Facebook link.
Yes.
The second one there, I see Jane seems to have posted the YouTube
I just did
link
the YouTube one. Oh, okay.
And Anton,
yep, that goes to the correct version.
Perfect.
Okay.
It looks like it's up then.
Good.
Okay.
Anton, just so you know, I was just teasing Jane a little bit.
Oh.
That was just a little tease.
Well, because Tim doesn't know what's going on with computers.
Oh, one of those types.
Yeah, oh yeah.
But he's trying.
I do lots of other things, Anton.
Oh, I believe you, and so do most people, but I believe there is so much more that we've got to learn. I actually read a beautiful quote today on Facebook, apparently a quote from Leonardo da Vinci, where at the age of 87 he said, "I'm learning something new every day."
Yep.
Oh, yeah, I saw you post that. Yeah.
And never lose our child self and never stop learning. So now
Yeah, well, I'm learning that child bit, you know, with traffic and people driving recklessly. I kind of have to remind me to get my inner child back there.
Well, anyway, let's move along now into the process here. You, Anton, wanted to talk about your awareness drive versus the flash mob or with flash mob, and Diane's the flash mob specialist, and you're the awareness drive specialist. So why don't you two bat the ball around a bit and let us know what you're doing and what you need from the community at large in order to get more of your work done.
Well, Diane, it sounds to me like you and I must team up, that you can flash and I can get the awareness going.
Mm-hmm. I'm in.
Oh, good. Look,
Did I tell you how old I was? But okay. Carry on.
you know, age is but a number. How
I
old do
know.
you feel, Diane?
Pardon me?
How
Oh,
old do
Jane
you
and I
feel?
had this talk the other night, right, Jane? I feel like I'm maybe 32, 30,
You know,
something. Yeah.
I think there's a lot of flash mobbing coming from you still.
Oh. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so the main thing that I'm coordinating basically on the South African Facebook group page is what I term awareness drives. Now, we've got basically 2, maybe 3 of those a week. We let them run 2 or 3 days, depending on who we're targeting and what the option is. And the whole thing is there. We've got the OPPT flyer, not the courtesy notice. It is the flyer, which is purely an introduction to what has happened. Governments have been foreclosed. Here are the links. Governments are corporations, first of all. Here are the links to prove it. Here are the links to say that all corporations, including governments and banks, have been foreclosed. Here are the links. Educate yourself. And then a couple of other informational links. But the whole document is based on the standard OPPT flyer. The whole message of the document is, in a loving manner, trying to bring awareness to the general public. So the recipients of these emails from the awareness drive are not people that owe us, the senders, or want money or anything from us, the senders. We just select a group of people, and we've done the major banks in South Africa. We now busy with, we've got 9 regional governments here. We've done the central government. We've done 3 of the 9 regional governments. And the people on the Facebook page contribute they collect email addresses, and I compile that into a central database, and we send those out. So the whole thing about an awareness drive is to bring awareness about OPPT out there and the fact that we are free. Whereas sending out a courtesy notice and even flash mobbing a courtesy notice, if somebody wants money from you, and you then tell them, hey, what you are doing is illegal. Your corporation that you think you're working for and hiding behind has been foreclosed. Here is my offer as a contract to you if you wish to continue to communicate with me. So it's a totally different scenario. The message, the main body of the message is pretty much the same with the information about the UCC filings in the OPPT. But the reason why they sent and the context in which they sent are slightly different. So the awareness drive is an awareness, whereas the courtesy notice flash mob is cease and desist action or engage in a contract. Diane, are you with me on my summary of the flash mobbing on the CNs?
Yeah.
So that's basically the difference. We do have the courtesy notice flash mobs carrying on. You all might be aware of Anthea Tor's story with a municipality or the City Council of Cape Town, and they want her to demolish buildings, and she's saying, no, you can't do that, and you've been foreclosed. So once she gets the names together of whoever's involved in that whole case, we will flash mob them courtesy notices. So that is a separate drive, but the awareness drive is to try and reach as many people as possible, and we're focusing initially on banks and government and large corporates. We're also planning a big drive for the Monsanto towards the end of May.
So, Anton, are you just taking these notices and sending them directly to the bank, or are you handing them to someone, or what are you doing with those notices?
We actually only work on emails at this stage as far as the awareness drive is concerned, because there's no need for anybody to acknowledge receipt or anything of it. It is purely an informational drive. The mass media won't support bringing out this information. We want to get as many people informed about the information until maybe the mass media is starting to turn and say, oh, hang on, so many people know about this, maybe we must report it. You know, that'll be the next big step. But in the meantime, we're just sending out emails to any contact email address we can get.
So, like in my community, in the beginning of this, we were in a huge growing learning curve, right? But my husband and I were in it now. Like it resonated, and there was no question. And but as far as people in my community, there's one lady I know of in Chilliwack, in my town, who is, and some further between where we live and Vancouver. They're smattered through. But in my direct community, nobody seems to be aware or interested. And I have talked to a few people that are semi-awake with the things in the world, but they just shut right down. They just think that we're going to have our power cut off and everything else done. So I left it at that. You know, everyone can have their own opinion. But now in the last couple of days, and it's, you know how everything is shifting and it's energetic. Last couple of days I've been strongly pulled to doing something more community, like holding a meeting, to bring people into the fold. And how did you bring the people together? Like, because I can imagine putting flyers in mailboxes, posting it down at the corner store, meeting on such a night, and I'll probably be like the only person there.
I can understand completely, and you know, personally, on a personal note, South Africans have been known to be extremely lethargic in trying to get any movement going. I was initially very surprised at how fast our Facebook group grew. We have over 2,000 members now. It took us less than a week to hit 1,000 members.
Wow.
So, and the people are actually contributing. They're making comments. They're sharing their thoughts. They're asking questions. There are several stalwarts that are just continuously sending in email addresses that are compiled to the database. So our Facebook group has been the main source of A, gathering information, and B, putting it out to them and saying, we're doing this flash mob, please participate. Very much like what you're doing in the flash mob group you've got. So the process has been so far, we just published a list of addresses and the body of the message, and people would, and we published that on Script D, and people would then have to go and copy that and paste it in their email. And especially for the people with phones and working on mobile devices, it became a problem. So what we did is I had another volunteer, and we wrote a script and started a web page. Now on the web page we say, this is the page, it's got a unique name, it's a specific web page. This is our drive, and we're currently on drive number 8. We are targeting X, Y, and Z, and we're currently targeting the media. We've got 512 addresses of media that we send a notice out, and we're making them aware and asking them to cover the disclosure hearings that are currently happening in the US. So what we do is we put the document available for people to see what we are sending. And we're saying on the web page, well, there's a link from the web page to the full document, but on the web page, it's a simple single page saying, this is awareness drive number 8. It runs from now till then. Here's the document, what we are sending. Please enter your name, your email address, and click on send. And we then send that message to the list of recipients on behalf of that person. So there's no copy and pasting done.
Yeah, it's a beautiful setup the way you have it.
I did see a question in the chat room earlier. Is it only for South Africa? At the moment, that is what I'm focusing on. However, and this brings me to another very important point very close to my heart. I have a vision, I have a dream. Well, I have many, but on this topic, I have a dream of setting up one website for anybody that wants to send out OPPT awareness drives and or courtesy notice flash mobs.
Oh, okay.
Where we can have a website. Now, our current needs are, it needs to be PHP enabled for the techies out there, where anybody can start a drive. And they can then link from wherever to that page. They will then be able to load a list of recipients on that page and a body of text that needs to go in. Once that's set up, they can say, people, if you're interested in supporting this specific drive, let's do it. Now, my dream is to have that available for all regions anywhere in the world on a centralized or maybe not so centralized database. But I don't have the time myself to do it, and we need some backers there. We need volunteers that can offer a website that's PHP enabled and from which one can handle large volumes of emails going out. And we will need a couple of techies to just adjust the PHP code. We've got the template. It is available to anybody. We can email it to you. It's actually been posted on our Facebook group today already. So take the code, and yes, you're more than welcome to go do your own thing as well. But my dream is to have one central place where all of OPPT worldwide can register their drives, whether it's an awareness drive or a courtesy notice flash mobbing, can register their thing, and everybody can participate from anywhere in the world on any of these drives that are happening.
I know right now they have a link, Absolute Data, I think it's called, and the group, Bethany Truex is someone I've contacted there, and they're putting together a data sheet globally for organizations. You've seen that?
Yeah, I have had a look at that, and Bethany has been in contact with me as well. To me, that is very complicated. It's a CRM system. It's a sales system where you keep contact with your suppliers and your clients, which they've adapted to carry this, which is a brilliant concept. I just think at the moment, and I didn't spend a lot of time on it, it just looks a little bit complicated for anybody just to go in and use. So, one can possibly combine the database features of that and the very simple front end and maybe link that to the specific web pages, but one will have to look at what they have and what they got when they are, when they and I have time to sit down and chat.
It's certainly, your idea does have a really good feel to it, because you are eliminating the borders, really, in a sense, and bringing the whole entire globe to one point. And
that
from there, it just sparks right out. Yeah, I can almost see information coming in and explosion going out, So.
and to make it as simple that even Tim can operate it.
Oh, yeah. Whoa.
Tim, you're not the only one that can tease people.
Oh, I think you can put me in that bucket too. I'm so not a techie.
Well, I think as this goes along, each person is going to find their particular niche that they are passionate about, and I do believe that Bethany is working with Brian and those guys to get all the military addresses, is what I believe, which is why the protector of the one people was drawn up, especially for the military people, because they wanted an oath to sign, because that's what they're all about, is, to defend and protect and all of that in the country. So they needed an oath, and I think that's what they were doing. I know personally for me, I'm a chemtrail freakazoid, and I would like to see the chemtrail the chemtrail courtesy notice made into, for each state. You know, there's a certain agency, a protection agency, an environmental agency, or whatever in that state, but you have to find their Dun and Bradstreet number, and I'm having trouble finding that. When I do look for the Dun and Bradstreet number to prove that they are a corporation, I'm unable to get that without having to pay $120 for it. And I was wondering if there was anybody out there that had access to those numbers, the Dun and Bradstreet numbers of these so-called environmental agencies that are supposed to be protecting us, that are really corporations, and the individuals working there need to be held accountable since no more hierarchy exists, so that we can start writing to them and invoicing them all across the country.
Can you spell that? Dunn? Is it D-U-N?
Yeah, Dun, D-U-N, and Bradstreet. Brad.
Oh, Dun and.
Yeah.
Dun and. Okay. So anyone out there
Jane,
that has knowledge on it? Mm-hmm.
What I can also suggest is go to the SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission. You can also do a search there.
Oh.
They don't charge for that.
Oh, great.
It's called the Edgar search, EDGAR search. But it's on the. Tomorrow I can forward you the link of the search engine. I don't have it offhand right now.
Okay, well, let's just say that, you know, for each person has their passion. Some people it's fracking, and we all need this information to prove that these are corporations we're dealing with, and therefore not government entities. And I'm just saying that everybody who's interested in any area, whether it's the military, you know, chemtrails, fracking, whatever it is that's poisoning us, GMOs. You said you were going to be working on Monsanto later on this month or next month, Anton. You know, there's all these things that are poisoning and killing us, and that's what we've got to hone in on first, because we need a healthy population living in their right brain in order to push forward and get out of this doldrum that we're in with our mud in the 3D, trying to leap into the golden age with a big wad of mud stuck to our foot, you know?
That's why I love this new Declaration of Absolute Freedom, the One People. I love it. And it's about co-custodian and steward of earth. That one absolutely resonates with my whole being. I came into this world loving this earth and all the life forms, and my heart has been shattered so many times with the cruelty to the planet and all the animals, and it's ongoing. And we are one of the other creatures that we often forget, that we are being assaulted on all levels as well. So that one, that totally works for me. I'll be sending that in, and I have one under my pillow. I sleep with all my paperwork under my pillow. So.
Man, you must be like just about straight up and down by now.
Just about. I'm a yogi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A yogi with a stiff neck. Jane, I just pasted on the chat room the link for the search engine. I managed to find it quickly, so you can just copy that out.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
You will have, and then you can just type in the company name there, and it'll give you all sorts of information about them. And you can even click on the company name and go further in and get the annual reports.
Oh, fantastic, Anton. Thank you. You've just removed so much frustration from my filling out these chemtrail forms.
And Anton, thank you very much. You've just relieved some of mine, because now Jane is satisfied.
Does that make your life easier?
Oh, my God, you can't believe it.
I'm glad to be of help, even if it's not directly OPPT related.
Okay. So
Dane's happy now. Yay.
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 So if I heard you correctly earlier, you're taking these notices and you're finding any email address for, let's say, a bank, and you're just sending it to the bank, or is there someone specifically you're targeting at a bank?
The easiest email address to get hold of are the higher people, the help desks, and those type of things. My personal philosophy is I want anyone from the security guard, the gate guard, the cleaning lady, the tea lady, the person opening and closing doors. I want all their email addresses. I think it would be a better thing to start at the bottom up. The top people of the large corporates are aware of the situation. That we have found time and time again. And when they get the email, they shred it. It goes nowhere. Because they know it and they don't want that information to go down the ladder. If you can find, and this is something I reiterate to people that are collecting email addresses, get me the workers, get me the people. Those are the people that are going to stand around the cooler or the coffee table and they're going to talk about this. Wow, you also received that. I got 150 emails, this thing about OPPT or whatever it is. Have you? Yeah, I wonder what it's about. And somebody pipes up and says, well, I actually went into one of the links. It's amazing stuff. Or, wow, I don't know what's happening there. And, you know, that's the kind of thing that I think works to spread the energy. Remember, we're not just talking here about left brain knowledge. We're talking about an energy that needs to be brought out. But the first step is the awareness that there is such a thing and there is such an idea and the concept of being free. Does it answer you?
And the fact that it isn't a flash in the pan, right? This is real. This isn't a designer kind of cool thing to belong to, that a passing fad. This is real. There are success stories all around the clock. And, you know, a year ago, if you told a credit collector, I'm sorry, we don't have to pay that. You don't have to listen to us. But, you know, if you pursue it, then this is what I will be doing. Do you think a year ago, telling them that you're just not going to pay that, they would let it go? They would be right on you. Now, silence. Or people are getting a notice that their account is closed. Have a nice day. Like instantly.
3 months ago.
It is amazing.
3 months ago, that would have been the case. I mean, you don't even have to go back a year, right?
No,
3 months ago, these people would have still been saying just what you said. They'd be like, oh, yes, you are paying. But when you have the tools that we have at our hands and in our hands right now, they have no option. It is done. I mean, it's not maybe or possibly, and hopefully this will work. It absolutely is done. And it's just a matter of doing it, being it, living it, and learning how to do it.
Yeah, that is a very important point there, Tim. Sorry if I can just add on to what Tim is saying, and I think that's a point that people sometimes forget, whether it be in the courtesy notice flash mobbing or whether it be in the awareness drive, is just before you hit that send button, just take a couple of deep breaths, go within, find that higher frequency of love within you, and let that go with the sending of the document.
Yes.
That's it. I've done now my number 6 courtesy notice. All of them, let's see, 1, 2, 3, and 4, basically it has been quiet since the first one went out at the beginning of March. One of the courtesy notices that I sent back a bit, it was to a lower level loan manager. She rifled it off to collections, hot potatoed it, right? They sent me a very short note they'd like me to meet. I sent her a courtesy notice with an invoice because it had already been ignored. Haven't heard a word from her. It ended. The collection office never got back to me. Now I have today I've worked out their second invoice because I gave them a due date of the 24th. I have been thinking, let sleeping dogs lie, but that's what they say in the guidelines. Once you do the invoice, it's like about 14 days you give them, then you send another invoice with an overdue tag on it and go from there. Now, the latest one that I did was our big one. It was a mortgage and loan in one bank, and we didn't default. The money was there. I sent them a notice basically meaning, and with a letter so they'd understand why, that those funds are no longer for them to take. That's what the gist of it was. The money was gone like that. But I know what happened. They wouldn't have received that courtesy notice for the 2 days, and that automatic withdrawal would have come out on that Friday. So, okay, I think it was just the timing of things. But I want people to know that even though that happened, it's the big kahuna one. I'm good with it because I know I'm right. I know this is truth. You see, like Tim said 3 months ago, a year ago, I would have been freaking out. Anything to do with mortgage would have just sent me off the top,
Diane.
right off the edge. And I know this is a done deal.
Okay, can I tell my story too, Diane?
Yeah, of course.
So I sent off a courtesy notice, and a lot of you know that already, but I did get a reply finally, and they said they are researching my request. It wasn't a request, really. It was a courtesy notice is not a request. But
no.
This was the very first letter I've had from them in the last 3-4 months that has not had the word foreclosure on it.
Yeah,
that's
so they're
amazing, Jane.
They're getting
They
it.
know what's happening. They know what's happening.
And they might try to call your bluff a bit, right? Those other letters, Jane, those are calling a bluff. Those are trying to use the old way of intimidation that they know, oh, wow, you send them an invoice or any follow-up, and they're going, okay, no, it's done. They know.
Oh, they
so
know.
I really want the people that have stepped into this, that they're a little bit wobbly on their pins, if they do get some follow-up letter of intimidation, just let it go. It is done. All you have to do is remember Heather's earlier talks about it is all done. They're all foreclosed, and they're just going to try and milk it from a few people by intimidation, see if they can, what's to lose at that point for them. Of course they're going to try. Disregard it and walk in your truth and knowing they can't touch you.
Diane, if I may just offer a bit of opinion here as well on, you mentioned one of Heather's talks. I've been following the Liz and the OPPT show since January. Last week's, I haven't even listened to this week's one. Last week's one was, to me, one of the best summaries of the whole process from beginning to where we were then. That was now a week ago. For the people that don't know where to find it, it is also on my YouTube page because I believe it's such an important piece of information. It's also about a 1.5 or 2 hour show that I downloaded from their archives. And it is an amazing summary for the people just to catch up, that you don't have to go listen to all the interviews, that they've made a very nice summary there.
Yeah, that was a great idea, right?
Yeah,
people coming into it.
We need to remind the new people coming in. I think, Diane, you and I were going to say exactly the same thing.
Yeah, I know. We do that. Go for it.
No, we forget that there's a trail here. It was a process. And, when people hear, like, oh, OPPT is dissolved. What's going on? Like it doesn't exist anymore or something. It's ever evolving and it cannot be caught, because if it stays stagnant, they're going to snare it in a trap.
Yep.
We keep moving forward and evolving more toward the light and ourselves and our power and the fact that there's only us and the Creator, and standing and holding that, you know. So I don't know about this IUV. I think that was the latest thing, the IUV exchange. Any thoughts on that?
Well, Jane, to me it is the whole dissolving of the OPP, the trust itself was, you know, it was kind of it had to happen. The OPPT had a mission to do the UCC filings and to have them stand unrebutted beyond the rebuttable period. Now, they've done that. The second mission they had was to start spreading the word, getting the information out. The trust per se had done that. There is no more function left for the OPPT. It was a tool that was used in the proper and correct way. It served its function, and now you put the tool down. If you're doing house renovations and you're picking up a hammer and you're hammering in a nail, and now you want to take a paintbrush, you're not going to keep the hammer in the other hand. You're going to put the hammer down. And that's the way I view the whole dissolving of OPPT. It had done its function. Now it's time to move on.
It really just gave the tools to move this forward. It did its job, and the tools are, and the courtesy notices and all the other things that we utilize now to, let's say, protect ourselves, or let's say to move people into the under one people, you know, under the Creator, all living equally as we should have from the beginning.
And on the actual document, it's really what both of you have said in a nutshell. It goes, where OPPT was the conscious space to know that all that is the eternal essence, I is the conscious space to empower experiencing eternal essence embodied, for all to know and rely upon. So it is that. The OPPT was space, and I know she said that way back, and I went, okay, I just went with it, right? Okay. But now I know about the space. And you know what? We are all, because we jumped in and we did our dance in all of this wholeheartedly, we are continually creating that space for the I, or the one. And it's how we are the gold. We are the free energy. Like, the deeper you take that, it does go back to your I, your own being. And everyone is doing the same thing, then it morphs into the literal sense of one.
Because we're all part of it.
Well put. Well put. And Diane, if I can bring, you know, people battle with this thing of I am the value. Now, I mean, this whole thing of I'm not worthy has been so deeply entrenched. It's not that you've never been worthy. You've always been worthy. Your attention just been distracted from it. But to mention an example that people may be able to relate to, the work you're doing, Diane, with coordinating these flash mobs and courtesy notices, there is incredible value in that. And that is your value that you are bringing to the table. And each person participating in one of these flash mobs, they may not feel they're doing a lot, but they are bringing their value in a small action.
Absolutely.
And there is value.
Well, we've been brainwashed through the 3D system to believe that there is a hierarchy, or that there is a difference between you and I. And that is so far from the truth. It is literally, I put my pants on the same way you do, one leg at a time.
Exactly.
And we're equal. There is no hierarchy, and there never should have been.
And Tim, to add on to that, I go into quite a bit of detail in the presentation that I do. And I go back to where the hierarchy was started at the 1302 Unum Sanctum papal bull that the Vatican issued, or the Pope issued then, where they placed themselves between the Creator and the people.
Yes,
and they made a statement that nobody can actually contact the Creator except through the Roman Catholic Church or the Vatican.
And also what they did was, prior to that, the only way you could have a contract was to do it one-on-one, human being to human being. And the way they got around that was to write this contract in blood on kid skin to make it live. That's how they did it.
Yes.
And not to mention the energy that was tied into that, right? The trauma and the...
Completely. That was actually a little later that they did that. But the whole process, and I mentioned this before to you, Jane, that looking at the whole plan of the cabal and the wide web and the broad spectrum, incredibly broad spectrum of everything that has been covered in our enslavement, is such a brilliant plan. It's not something that two or three guys sitting around, well, in South Africa we still have open fires, sitting around a fire with a beer in hand, discuss and say, okay, guys, let's do it this way. It's not like that.
No.
Okay? It is an incredible plan, and I stand back in awe of the meticulousness of the plan, A, in the planning, and B, in the execution of it. I'm not saying go, Gabal, go. I'm saying studying the plan for many, many years and where it's got its little claws into everywhere. I am in absolute awe of it, and I respect the guys for that. Okay, it's time out now.
Absolutely. Yep.
But if you want to have a change
them.
of heart, and you want to have a change of heart and get some light in your heart, not some, turn to light. You're welcome on our side with brains like that to plan and execute things like that. Come on, let's do it together.
Yeah.
They did their part very well. Unfortunately for them, they've done their part, and it was all part of the plan. I do believe they are a catalyst for our growth. It's just all part of it, right, lumped in. But, we have Source completely backing us. So, to me, Source trumps any cabal, any fireside plan they may have had. That's totally over. So we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them.
Correct, and that is where the applaud comes in, or the respect comes in for the role they were playing, and they did it absolutely to perfection. They got a bit greedy in the end, but they did it to perfection, and therefore, people want to say, hang them, lynch them, whatever. No. They were, as you said, Diane, they're part of our path to get to this point.
Yes, but they had an advantage over us in that they kept the technology secret so that they could always be ahead of us. Like if you go back to Alexander the Great, they knew about magnetism. So Alexander the Great's sword was made of copper. And he would take a magnet and literally rip the sword from people's hands and say that was the power of God, the superior power they had. They've always used technology ahead of the game, and they've never shared it with us so that they could maintain that status. But now the free energy is coming out, disclosure is coming out. I honestly believe that disclosure is the next step, the next step to open the way up for the one people to really start moving.
I kind of think disclosure has happened. We all know. Whether they want to, they know, we know, they know. We know. Like, really it's happened.
I know what you're saying.
It's not in print. It's just, they remind me of the Cheshire Cat with the big mouse in the mouth, and he's acting like he's, there's nothing going on, but the mouse's tail is hanging out of its mouth a bit. Like, it's so obvious that they know. So.
Yeah, the only thing I want to add to that is I'm also involved in an organization, a trust called New Energy Systems Trust, or NEST for short. You can just search that on Google if you're interested. We
go again?
New Energy Systems Trust, NEST for short, NEST.
Got it.
And we're a group of people from all over the world getting together, and our whole objective is to assist inventors of free energy and exotic energy. We're excluding solar and wind. We want more exotic than that. To help inventors get their inventions to the market. That's the whole concept that we have. And yes, we know that they've hidden technology from us, but we still don't have free access to the plans of that technology. We can't put it on the ground. My personal part of my vision is to have every household off the grid without going backwards in time, but have an energy supply unlimited for every household, because just that will change the whole world.
With zero cost.
Yeah, free energy.
Yeah, we can look. The energy itself is free. If we're looking at the current status quo, the energy itself will be free, but there's still the cost of a person designing it, the person building it, the transport costs, etc. Once we can get over the money issue in total, yes, completely free.
I do believe there is another document that has released the technology for the free energy. That was an OPPT document, so that's out there for everybody if they want to build it. Some people looked at it. That was
a Keshe Foundation generator. It's very complex, and nobody's really gotten it to work the way it's said to work, is meant to work.
Yeah, it looked pretty overwhelming for the average Joe. Anyway,
I know a few people that would love to get at something like that, but yeah, I looked at it and thought, that's not going to work for me.
Okay, I'm thinking now we've been going for an hour. I think we should take a little break. So I'm just going to play some music and we can all regroup, and anyone who needs to go and do anything right now can go and do it.
Alrighty. See you.
Attention all you rule breakers, you misfits and troublemakers, all you free spirits and pioneers, all you visionaries and nonconformists. Everything the establishment has told you is wrong with you is actually what's right with you. You see things others don't. You are hardwired to change the world. Unlike 9 out of 10 people, your mind is irrepressible, and this threatens authority. You were born to be a revolutionary. You can't stand rules because in your heart you know there's a better way. You have strengths dangerous to the establishment, and it wants them eliminated. So your whole life you've been told your strengths are weaknesses. Now I'm telling you otherwise. Your impulsivity is a gift. Impulses are your key to the miraculous. Your distractibility is an artifact of your inspired creativity. Your mood swings reflect the natural pulse of life. They give you unstoppable energy when you're high, deep soulful insight when you're low. Been diagnosed with a disorder? That's society's latest way to deny its own illness by pointing the finger at you. Your addictive personality is just a symptom of your vast, underused capacity for heroic creative expression and spiritual connection. Your utter lack of repression, your wide-eyed idealism, your unmitigated open mind. Didn't anyone ever tell you? These are the traits shared by the greatest pioneers and visionaries, innovators, revolutionaries, procrastinators, and drama queens, activists on the social scene, space cadets, mavericks, philosophers, and derelicts, business suits flying fighter jets, football stars and sex addicts, celebrities with ADD, alcoholics who seek novelty, first responders, prophets and saints, mystics, and JJJs. We are all the same, you know, 'cause we're all affected by the way. We are all the same, you the Tao, reverse entropy, life force, but for now, we'll simply call it the Way. The Way is reflected in you as the source of your inspiration, the source of your passion, your wisdom, your enthusiasm, your intuition, your spiritual fire, love. The Way takes the chaos out of the universe and breathes life into it, giving it divine order. The Way, when expressed by the mind, is genius. When perceived through the eyes, is beauty. When felt through the senses, is grace. When allowed into the heart, is love.
Okay, I'm sorry that was such a sudden ending. That song is like 8-9 minutes long, and I didn't want it to cut too much into the show. Is everybody still here with us?
I'm here.
Great, Diane. Anton, are you?
I'm here.
Wonderful. And Tim, did you want to say something?
Nothing other than I'm here.
Okay.
And I'm doing and being.
Woohoo.
Well, I was wondering if Anton could tell us a little bit about how he came to where he is from now, like a little bit of his life, how he's got a beautiful story of how what he did in his life all melted together to form this very unique human being that has put him in the position he is in right now. And I was wondering, Anton, do you feel comfortable sharing that, you know, from being in the ranks of soldiers to a massage therapist? Quite a leap.
I'm comfortable sharing anything. It's just I hate to bore your listeners. But let me try and summarize this for you, or for your listeners. And I'm going to start with a quote from one of the South African poets and writers, C.J. Langenhoven, who wrote just a simple sentence that at a very young age intrigued me. And I had it on my wall, and I had it written in my bookcase, and it was in my diaries for years and years. And if I translate that into English, it says, the value of the shade of the tree lies in the sunshine around it. So if the sun disappears behind a cloud, there's no value in the shade of the tree. Now, the way I can today relate to that statement is that I've been in the sun and I burnt blisters. I know the value of the shade. When I left school, it was in South Africa still compulsory to do army service at that stage for 2 years. And I actually wasn't about to sit around and do nothing, and which happens to a number of people, but I was also very active in sports. And I decided to use my physical fitness, and I volunteered, and I got into one of our special forces branches. And, it taught me, and Jane, you and I actually discussed about the heartlessness of what the powers that were have done without any caring for loss of human life.
Yeah.
And I related to that is very easy to achieve. That doesn't mean they haven't got a soul. It is very easy to get to a stage, and I know this firsthand, where you feel absolutely nothing for another human life or an animal life or whatever. You're focused on the goal, and in the army that is winning the war, and there's absolutely no emotion to it.
Wow.
And, having been there, I can firsthand relate. Yes, I know. I've been there. And coming out of that, now that was the sunshine, I have then discovered the value of the shade. Now, another thing that we had to do in South Africa, after your initial 2 years, you can now go back into the marketplace and find a job or go to study further or whatever. But over every 2-year period, you had to do another, 4 months of what we called camps. So they would call you up every year, 1 year for a month, that's 30 days, and next year for 3 months, where you would go back and serve in the army again. And they called me up the first time, and I went and I said, look, I'm now trained in computer programming. I know you are battling getting your databases going. I can help you with that. I'll do my contribution like that. And they said, no, you will be in active duty. You were expensive to train, and you're Special Force. We can't put you behind a computer. And I then refused. I said, no. And that is when the light dawned on me. Well, let me give a little bit more example. We were in those days fighting the communists, which were said to be embodied in the black nations wanting to take over Africa. Now, that is what we were fed in those days and believed. And within a year after me finishing army, the first of the so-called freedom fighters were flown on my tax money back into South Africa and given luxury houses and education and that. And I realized that I was not fighting the war for my fellow beings. I was fighting it for a government that was after political agendas. I was not aware of the corporations and the whole money scheme behind it yet. But I became aware that I'm not fighting this war, and even if we did win the war, the end result is predetermined. And that is when I refused, at that stage, I refused to put on a uniform ever again in my life. I will not fight a fight on anybody else's behalf. I will only fight to protect what's mine and around me, my community. So, you know, that realization made a huge change in my life. And that is where one example where I can mention from this blistering sunlight, valuing the shade of the tree and really appreciating it because you've been in the sunshine. From there on, I went into the corporate world, into, well, Tim, don't worry, I'm a dinosaur in IT, but I had the opportunity to program in languages the youngsters don't even know about anymore, on mainframes, in COBOL and the business languages. And I was very successful doing what I did, very motivated, committed, working my backside off to pay my taxes and give the money to everybody else, which again I didn't realize at that stage. And I was headhunted literally all over the world to, we like what you're doing. And I was working on huge projects. And I suddenly realized, I woke up one morning early and I felt good about myself. I've won the rat race. I am there. I have made it. And then the next thought a second later hit me like a ton of bricks. Okay, you've won the rat race, but you're still a frigging rat. Okay, I didn't want to hear that. I didn't want to hear that thought. It wasn't a pleasant thought, and it also didn't want to leave me. And that is where my sister suggested that as a hobby we go do a therapeutic massage course, Swedish massage course, and me with my interest in sports, I was very interested in that. And that started me on a whole new line that I eventually opened up a natural health practice in Johannesburg, where I studied such a variety of complementary therapies. I don't call them alternative, because I view myself as, when I did practice full-time, so practicing holistic medicine. And I don't believe one can be holistic if one excludes any small bit of the whole. So I insist on calling the modalities I practice, which were massage, reflexology, Reiki, iridology, Chinese medicine, acupuncture, body talk. I mean, there's a whole host of things. I never stopped studying once I got this stuff. It was so interesting to me. And so that opened a whole new era in my life of just healing, helping people, doing the good. It was as if I was repaying for my so-called sins in the aggressive army days. And then one day I got gently nudged by the universe, also not so gently because I held on a bit, and had to move on from there. And that is what basically brought me to read more about years ago the free man system, really dig deeper into the powers that were then on the enslavement that we live under, and what brought me in early January to discover the OPPT. And people, here I am, the result of my life. Are you all shell-shocked?
No, it's very beautiful, actually. The path that you went from seeing what's actually life and heart, and seeing them only as when you were in the war, in the battle, but seeing them only as objects, because that's how you were taught. That's what they conditioned you. You had to not see them
Absolutely.
as heart
Otherwise
at
you
all,
couldn't survive
because
the war.
you couldn't do it. You would never do it. So they desensitized you, conditioned you. They became just objects, like in a video game, basically. And then you swing around and you flip it totally, and you go into the healing work to heal others as well as yourself, because it goes both ways.
And I was telling Anton earlier, too, because I would imagine that we might be around the same age, but I had a boyfriend in South Africa who was captain of the rugby team and captain of the cricket team, and he all of a sudden had to go away and do his 2-year stint in this mandatory army, very much based on the Israeli style of doing things. And he was in the South African police force, and then when he came back, he was never the same person. It destroyed him completely.
Yeah, that is a common thread you will find in those years of the young boys coming back from, whether it be the police force, whether it be the army service. The problem was that we were flown back into the country where we were actually living in the bush, fighting in the bush. Then one day you flown back into the country, back to home base, you stand in the parade and they say, okay guys, you've done your 2 years, bugger off now. There was no debriefing, there's no psychological readaptation.
Wow.
And that is when I realized I was extremely aggressive on civilian street. And I realized with a shock, whoa, I have a problem. Not the other people, I have a problem.
So isn't that amazing, though? Like you've been there, and you know that you are a heart. You know you are a gentle being. But the fact that they have the ability to flip a switch in humans to do this sort of thing, and they continue to do it. Now, knowing what you know, if you faced any of them still operating in that mindset or non-heart set, do you think you could reach them because you know the shoes that they're standing in? Is there some way that you could meet any one of them one-on-one and know how to flip the switch? Or is that just...
Let me, it's a very, very interesting choice of words you put there. I have, and probably will again meet face-to-face with people that are still in that totally covered up heart space. Can I flip them? No. Can I reach out to them? Yes. Can I reach them? They will do that. I can reach out. I can share. But it's up to them to do the flip.
Right.
It is not up to me to make them flip.
No. But just like something that triggers in them. My heart, I'm actually feeling a bit emotional from your story, because when we think of the the armies out there, and they're running through and they're killing people left and right and whatever's in their way. Hearing your stories made me realize as big a tragedy as how their heart got turned off, like to turn what would have been probably for the most part loving people into killing machines.
And I would like to share...
just as big a tragedy. Mm-hmm.
Yes, absolutely, but I'd like to share something else with you that I've observed over the last couple of years. There's been a lot of international press about the American invasions and the forces going over to all the other countries. And what struck me were the numbers of photographs of the troops coming back and either picking up their child that they haven't seen in 2 years or grabbing their girlfriend or wife and the tears streaming down. Now, that didn't happen 20 years ago. It is happening now.
There you go.
You've got people in active areas overseas, troops outside of their country, invading another country, showing acts of kindness. There's an energy change that we cannot resist. That gentleness, those tears flowing, did not happen 20 years ago when I was there. And I've never observed that even in when was the first Iraqi invasion? It was 1990, around about there, I think. Not even there was that energy so easily, the heart energy so easily reignited. And that is just my observation of photographs and videos that I have observed over the years.
Do you think that would be the same reason that there are an inordinate number of suicides, like almost, was it 18 a day I saw lately? And before there weren't that many. I mean, people can't live with themselves now also for things that they've done. The suicide rate is higher than the actual death rate within the military, Anton?
Look, I think that definitely has a factor, because the feeling of, I mean, in my years, long before, and I'm referring to energy shifts, and a lot of people mention specifically December 21st, 2012. That was one major shift. But the big shift started happening since the early 1970s. In actual fact, I think the really big shift was, the first one was 10th of August 1973, if I recall correctly. And things have been starting to change since then. And even before that, those of us that were of thinking age then had already been asking, there's more to life than this. What is life about? But it was a fleeting thought. And I think, this is my perception, that today it's more than a fleeting thought. It's becoming a lingering thought. It's becoming now an undercurrent that people have become aware of. They don't know where to turn for answers because of the brainwashing of the media, of the societies. But there's an unhappiness in them because they know their heart is turned off. They know they did it willingly, and they know the energy around them, although they may not perceive it as such, but they know something is amiss, something is not a fit. And there's a disjointedness which makes one feel unconnected, disconnected from creation, that which we are, from being the I. You're doing exactly the opposite to what you really feel, but the people don't know where to look, to go inside and find who the I am. So, therefore, I think the conflict between the real inner quiet me, the love, and what I'm doing is closer together and more apparent. And therefore the suicide rates, I believe that definitely has an influence on the suicide rates.
Thank you for your insight on that. We're in such a sorry state in this country, it sometimes seems overwhelming. But now, with the One People, we actually have these tools that we can actually do something. I remember floundering around before this, thinking, how can I make a difference? What can I do? And I've been thrown in jail a couple of times and stuff, and everything I've ever done didn't make any difference at all. Or maybe it did, but I never knew what it was. But now that I actually have documentation and paperwork that I can file, I feel like I can be very active, and especially in the area of chemtrails, which is very empowering for each person who is passionate about what they want to work on. And all of us together, the trials and tribulations that need to be fixed, there are just so many, and each one of us has our particular little part to play in it, and we just now have to find that little niche.
That's right. And the OPPT and the TOP, all of it, the whole trip has been increasingly giving us the space. So we actually, as you said, Anton, in your video, and has been mentioned before, that the treadmill that people have been trained to go on from birth pretty well. They work all day. Most of them don't like what they're doing. To come home and then, like you said in your video, to then have to be a loving husband or wife and a loving parent. And, when people have just basically given their blood all day, there's hardly anything left. And then they still haven't had time to just be them, let alone giving it up for a partner or the children. But to go and just do the thing that pleases you, makes you happy. If you want to go run barefoot in the grass for an hour, people just don't have the energy. They're milked right dry. And now this whole, from OPPT on to the IUV, has created the space and the breath. I know we are in this home. My husband's a paramedic. He was pounding it. 4 days on, 4 days off. All his off days did overtime just to keep what we, as you said, I just so related to your video, to what we could have before, what we can barely keep now because everything's increasing. We don't have more things, but what we do have, our home, taxes, it all increases. So this whole thing since December has created space. If people will just step into it and know it, just do it. And you will find that you have space to breathe and be, so you can do what you really, really love to do.
I am so
Sorry,
glad.
you need to mute me, Jane. Mute me.
No, not at all. That was so beautifully said, and I love this kind of feedback and the way you're mentioning it. It brings home to me what you really, and each person will get different things, but what you got out of that, it's from my experience that I could share that in the presentation of the rat race one is in. And then, luckily, I woke up and realized I was still a rat. And therefore, I can share with you, and the way you just expressed it was so beautiful, and that makes my heart overflow with joy that I could offer that to you whom I've never met. I started emailing you yesterday, and you sitting somewhere on the other side of a planet, and yet we can connect.
I know. Isn't that beautiful? I just can't get my head around that. I love it. Thank you.
Thank you for that feedback.
Well, because you spoke from the heart and you spoke, it's real. Your experiences, so many people globally, they know those words. It's more than hearing your words. People are feeling the words now. And that's why they're honing in. They feel the words. They feel the words on the paper, on the documents. They're feeling it. So it's beyond the monkey mind now.
It is multidimensional. And those people that don't realize it are just at the moment not looking or denying, fighting against it because it's something new.
Yeah, because they've had those generations of what was supposed to be the way. their belief system and all, and they're going to hold on. Some people are tragically going to hold on to that old paradigm, scraping their fingernails, holding on to the last crumble as it falls to the ashes, right? They would rather rip out their fingernails holding on to that than lift their head up and go, oh, well, that was all wrong, but this is really cool. There's a weaning process through it all. There is a weaning.
But then for those that will rip their fingernails out, once they've lost their fingernails and they see they have to lift their heads, I can recommend a couple of herbs that you can plant in the backyard so long to help those people restore their fingernails.
There you go.
Was that a little commercial?
Really available. I'm not selling, I'm sharing.
I could just the ad. The ad goes like this. Have you been busy ripping your fingernails out lately? Well, we've got just the thing for you.
And I'm sure we've got a beautiful painting to go with that.
Yeah, if you find you cannot let go, here you go. The healingherbs.com.
So now, Diane, last time we talked, I know that you were saying that the people that you may mention this to, or they might overhear something you're talking about. Have you noticed any difference in their reactions today on how you may, if and when they're around you, you may say something that they hear? How do they react today? Because your confidence level is like leaps and bounds beyond what it was even a couple weeks ago.
Oh, I'm totally in a different world. I really am now. It's, and I think you got a point, because that's why I said earlier on the show, the last couple of days, I'm really compelled to really hit this community where, I brought it up over coffee and it was like, oh, you can't do that, and, just freaking out. Now, with those people, the female part of the couple has been asking me, and it's sort of been coming out in conversation a bit on the phone, where they're indicating how they love conversing with me because I don't try to force an opinion, yet they can have an opinion, and it was almost like that door opened again. So I think it's time to put on the boots and go back in. I think that they might have, it's energetic. I know I am emitting this energy now, even since like 3 weeks ago. It's, put it into words. Sorry, it's really hard. You're in it, so you know what I mean. And I think having that energy morph out the way it is with this whole TOP, every time I read a document or the courtesy, a paragraph, a line, it just, bam, there I am, bigger, more evolved, more getting it. So it's going to affect the people. Even as I sit in my house and don't even talk to them, it's probably affecting them. My own EMF.
Of course it is. Of course it is. Even the so-called enlightened crowds that I rub shoulders with every now and then, and they say, yes, we're all connected, we're all one, and I find that those are empty words that are spoken, or maybe it's a wish that I wish to connect. But really thinking about it and realizing that every thought I have immediately affects everyone and everything on this planet. And then I can let go of my fingernails and lift my head a bit, and I can see that it affects the whole universe. Every thought I have. And that is how connected we are, and that is how powerful and precious our thoughts and feelings are.
Well,
every time I say
Absolutely.
something, everybody is so quiet.
We're in
What's
deep
happening?
thought because when you
Am I
speak,
shocking
I'm not.
everybody off their chairs here?
Remember
I'm
you.
not kidding. I really feel the words. So when you speak, I'm lost in them. It's like looking at the most perfect color of blue. You get lost in it, and that's my trouble now. Like,
Well, earlier, Anton, you said you didn't want to put the listeners to sleep. I just went and got my pillow.
Sorry, Tim. Is it a bit past your bedtime already?
Yeah, oh yeah, it's late. I'm just teasing you. No, it's really, as Diane said, it's very, you come from it from a completely different perspective than each person has their story, don't they?
Yeah.
And as they come into this knowledge that, we're free and we're under one creator and we're all equal, everyone comes with a story and probably some battle scars. And the beauty of this is once you get a hold of it, the confidence level is so high and the people are so grateful for a chance of freedom to be free that it's just awesome. I come from it a different angle. My background being self-employed my whole life, I found it hard to worry about what other people thought. I didn't punch a clock. I didn't, people didn't boss me around, and they still don't. And it's interesting to me when I hear that there is maybe some apprehension or a worry that someone might think this or might think that. I never went down that road. I just kind of fly to the beat of my own drum. And when I heard about this and I heard about OPPT, and like Diane said earlier, and I think we all have, that it resonated with me so deep that I went, this is the correct, right thing. I really don't care what anyone else thinks. I believe this truly and wholly that it's the right thing. And I just didn't care. And so even over the weekend, I got in, a conversation where people are still entrenched in the old paradigm and, the 3D world. They just haven't come out of their, I don't know what you'd call it, cocoon or whatever. They're still asleep. They haven't woken up yet. And so I never argue with them. I'm just like, wow, that's cool. You absolutely have your own thoughts and opinions, and you certainly can be and do as you please. I'm not one to, you can't push a rope. That's kind of what I'm saying.
Totally.
Can I share with you an observation? Oh, go ahead, Anton. Sorry.
Sorry, I didn't mean to. Tim, just one question, and then I've got a statement to make. But I love the fact that you're not one being bossed around. Who made you sit behind the controls there tonight?
Oh, well.
Ooh. Was that number 3 on Tim tonight?
I love you too bits, Tim. I love you too bits.
Jane needs help, Anton.
We all love Tim.
There we go. The kind-hearted Tim coming out again.
And I love helping Jane.
I have to share something, Anton, and Diane and everybody. My daughter was hanging around getting ready for work, and I'm staying with her right now. And when you were talking about the soldiers coming home, she was almost tearing up a little bit there. Mm. And she never listens to anything I say because she thinks I'm a total whack job nut, from
But you are.
Planet. Yeah.
But so we all.
This is your talent, Anton. Exactly. You drew her in, and you drew her in slowly over the course of the radio show to the point at the end when she was leaving, she whispered to me, she says, "Mom, bye, I'm going to be a rat."
There you go.
Okay, there's no copyright on that. There's no copyright in anything I do. Please, make it your own. Use it.
But the thing is, gee, this is why I loved your presentation so much, is because somehow, I don't know how you do it, but you draw people in where they're not aggressive or defensive, or they just want to listen. And that's the beauty of your presentation. And right here would be a good place to say that you do have a PDF or PowerPoint of all the slides in your presentation that you are willing to share with other people if they would like to do local stuff around the one people in their area, right?
With the greatest of pleasure. In actual fact, yeah, it's not something I really want to put on YouTube, but contact me directly. I am on the OPPT-SA Facebook group. I can also give you my email address if people want to email me. With the greatest of pleasure, I'll share that. It's work that was done. It's just lying here on my hard drive. If you can use anything of that, chop and change, make it your own, use what is available, and, you know, it's yours.
You know, Anton.
Beautiful. Thank you, Anton.
Jane says she doesn't really know what it is that draws people in. I think it's the ox sun.
Yeah, to do with it.
I'm glad it works.
Jane, I'm working on it.
But Tim, I still want to come back to you for that sharing that you did with us. There's an old saying, I can't recall right now who it should be attributed to, but it says, your opinion of me has got absolutely nothing to do with me.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
And that is said respectfully. It is your opinion. I honor your opinion, but it's got nothing to do with me because it is yours. You claim it. You take responsibility for it. It's got nothing to do with me.
It's their perception.
It is their perception, and they are entitled to it.
Yes.
Can I just say that we've had a caller on the line waiting almost 13 minutes now, so I'll just let her in. It's Bethany, and just see what it is that she'd like to share with us. Hello, Bethany, are you there? Bethany?
She's there. I think she's there. There she is.
Oh,
hello?
Yep, there you are. Hi, Bethany. How are you?
Hi, Bethany.
I'm good. How are you guys?
We're all wonderful.
We're great.
Hi, Bethany. Good to hear your voice.
Hello. So Whitney asked me to come on here and talk about what I have been doing a little bit. So we have been building a database of every government and financial institution in the world and the individuals that represent them. So this database is intended to be used as a free tool by the one people all over the world to join in flash mob, foreclosure flyer, email campaigns to those in power that are still unaware or in complete denial of what is happening. So right now we are looking for help to make this tool manifest in every country around the world. So specifically we are looking for people who are good at finding and gathering information on the web and who are familiar with data entry into spreadsheets, people who are good at communicating, coordinating, motivating others, people with website, database, maintenance, and coding skills.
Okay, so Bethany, where can they contact you? And then that would be good if you could put your contact information in the chat and they could connect up with you.
Yes, they can either connect with me by email, which is my name, so Bethany, Bethany, and then crwmr0@gmail.com.
Okay, and then, can you just put that in the chat, Bethany?
Yep, I just did.
Yeah. Okay, great. We have about 15 minutes left of the show. But thank you very much for calling in, and we're just going to start closing
before
up.
Bethany.
Okay,
Before
go
Bethany
ahead,
goes, on the new absolute data, is that that the database link on there? Is that not the link that they can go to as well and click on a place, a region?
I'm sorry. What link are you talking about?
They just put it up on OPPT-Opt-in.com site, I think.
The Absolute Data.
And it's called Absolute. Go ahead.
Absolute Data Exchange?
Yeah. And when you click on database, it'll come up with all the regions that people can click on if they want to help. That's what you're connected to directly, right? That's still...
Yep. So right now we're gathering information.
Right.
We have a lot of Australia done, some of the U.S. and some other areas.
I'm working on Canada.
Lots to do. Yeah, Canada. Yeah.
Bethany, we've connected, but very briefly. We kept missing each other. I've had a hectic couple of weeks behind me. I'd really love to connect with you and join forces because we're working at the same kind of goal. I think Ed forwarded the databases we have of South African contacts to you people. But there's other plans that I think we need to connect and just have a chat on Skype or connect otherwise.
Okay, wonderful. I just put my Skype name in the chat.
I think we have connected on Skype.
Okay.
It was very brief. You contacted me and I contacted you back, and we kept missing each other. But if not, I will contact you on Facebook in any case, and then we can take it up. But I think we should, as a matter of urgency, just you and I get together and just combine our coordination efforts and work towards see our touch areas and so on.
That sounds wonderful. Thank you.
Yes, it is. Everything is wonderful.
Yes.
The only thing I'd like a little bit of help with is I'm working on a 48-hour calendar day at the moment. I'd love anybody to donate a couple of hours for me there additional. It's about 6 or 8 hours. I need more hours in a day.
Don't we all? Yes. I know.
But Bethany, thanks. We'll definitely be in contact and we'll join forces.
Okay, thank you,
Bethany. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Bethany. Bye.
We were getting a little bit of an echo there, and I didn't know how to fix it. But did it go away? Do you want to talk, somebody, please?
I heard it from my phone. Do you still hear it? Was it me or Bethany? Okay.
No, it was Bethany.
Just
Just obviously had the speakers and a microphone that picked up the feedback from the speakers.
Okay. Got it. Okay, thanks. All right, so we've only got, maybe 14, 12 minutes left, and we should start wrapping it up. If there's anything, Anton, I know you really, really did want to push your awareness drive, and I feel like we haven't spent enough time on that.
No, I said what I had to say. I don't want to push anything. I want to share.
Okay.
And I did share what I wish to share. The other thing that just going back to the OPPT that was dissolved that I wanted to mention is for those people who have watched the movie V for Vendetta.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And in the end the one guy who was representing the Cabal side spoke to the guy that started this vendetta, and he said, "Why won't you die?" And he replied, "You can't kill an idea."
Yeah.
Now, linking that to the OPPT dissolving, the idea, the tools were created, which created the idea, and now the idea is alive. We don't need the OPPT per se anymore.
Well said.
We've got the tools, and the idea is alive.
Right on. I love it. I'm going to use that. Yeah, that's
Again,
really
the
good.
Silence after that, but I'm glad somebody is still there.
Yes,
I know.
I
I think Tim is afraid of us.
Diane comes up with some real doozies. You know, the other night we spent like 2 hours on Skype almost peeing my pants laughing so much.
Well, I can say the one thing here, and I think it's relevant, right? And that's this whole thing from the beginning has been a bit of a weaning process, and how Caleb came in and, you know, kicked us out of the crib, and we had to cut our umbilicus domesticus cord. And because through the last couple months, people have been, you know, wanting Heather, regardless of the great conversation going on these shows, right? Where's Heather? And I said to Jane, well, we just have to, people have to pull away from Heather's teat. And I mean that in the most highest respect, Heather, if you're there.
And the mother she was.
Yes.
And I agree with you.
Did.
People were just sucking her dry.
Sucking her dry. And she gave us the tools.
Exactly. And it's again that thing of, okay, I'm free now. I need to take responsibility and I need to be accountable. What can I do? Again, I mentioned this in the presentation. There's a consciousness shift that we consciously have to work at getting to. We need to move from what's in it for me to what can I give? What can I contribute?
Which reminds us of Michael Tellinger, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. I've been following his work. Oh, and for the people that have been following Michael Tellinger's contributions and work, he's nearly finished his edit of the book, going into great detail about the whole concept.
Wow.
I will make a point of posting the details once the book is released.
Do you think there'll be an e-book?
I'm not sure if it's going to be an e-book form, but you can order the book from his website, which is zuluplanet.com, I think it is. It might be .org, I'm not 100% sure. Zulu Planet, one word. Z-U-L-U Planet. And
Anton, have you been able to go to Adam's calendar at all and look at it and feel it and see it and touch it?
Once I get that additional 6 hours a day, now that I've got 48, I can work that in. No, I'm also talking with other people who very close to that are working at. They've got a piece of land and they're trying to set up a community off the grid. And so, yeah, I plan to do those two in a single trip. It's about a 3-4 hour drive from where I am.
I had recently I heard somebody saying there is no grid. We are the grid.
Yes, but to use the same figure of speech, we also still sucking on the grid. We haven't weaned ourselves yet. We are the grid. We need to step back and realize that.
Yeah. Well, some other things that Diane and I talked about was we talked about our slavery. She called it slavery with a designer label. And she talked a lot about sucking at the teat of the umbilical domesticus. And I talked a lot about soul dehydration. And so when you think of it as nurturing your soul and bringing it back bigger and plumper and stronger, and what's that movie where they weigh the body and then the soul drops out?
Oh, yes.
You know,
what's it, 21 grams or something like that.
Yeah. Well, we need to get our soul bumped up to about double that in grams. In order to
well, I tell you what, it sounds so interesting. Please invite me next time you two girls have a chat like that.
Okay, we will. How many hours, Jane? 4 hours?
I'll stay on mute.
No, please don't. Tim?
Yes?
Are you up for it?
Oh, yeah. You know I am.
About that comment that we've got going on that night about the slavery, designer slavery, and you and I are totally on the same page because we were watching the Wayseer video, the music for the show, and there's scenes there. It's all to do with slavery and all of this. And we got talking about the slavery from way back in the day when people were taken and chained on boats and brought over to do the bidding of other people, Okay, we were all taught in school for years and generations. That is slavery, children. That's slavery. In the meantime, we were all being conditioned as slaves. We were slaves.
Absolutely.
I think that they did that whole thing just so they could hypnotize the rest of the population into thinking that they were free, because we had a visual of what a slave is, right? Well, that they pulled it over everyone else. Everybody was a slave. They just thought that they weren't, because that's a slave, right? So that's why we came up with the slavery, the designer label thingy.
Brilliant. Now, the picture you're painting there, they actually use in a movie which is available on YouTube, Slavery by Consent. And that's exactly what they do. They start with a scene where kids go on a school tour through a museum and there's photographs of these slaves. And it's very much what you're saying now. Well, they did not go into the designer slavery. That's a nice touch. I like that.
Thank you. Well, Jane and I, at whatever hour that was in the night. Oh, boy.
Well, Tim, you've been very quiet this whole time. Have you got any words of wisdom for anybody and everybody?
I'm not kidding. I just say you just got to do and be. We've been, the very part of the, when this whole thing 4 months ago came out, it was, as we've been talking, the OPPT, and since it's been dissolved, it literally is a matter of just taking the tools that we have been so graciously given and so blessed with, and utilize those tools to be free. And it is just that simple, and it is just that difficult. It is not, it's not any more or any less than that. It is just taking the action to make that happen. And you can do it for yourself, and there are plenty of people that are willing and able to help.
Do you want to talk a little bit about our communities and building communities?
Which?
You were saying that we need to get together and,
I know in talking with, we've all talked about getting together, or where do you meet people that are actually doing and being. And I think that it's going to require probably, just not only in your personal day when you're talking to somebody, but it may require maybe this very show to get that out along with other shows that are, I think, promoting that. So somehow, maybe it'll be next show, we can start putting some of that together also, where people can maybe meet or get together to do that.
Okay, so we've got 4 minutes left. Diane, have you got anything burning in your heart that needs to be lifted?
Oh, can we have another hour?
Sure.
One very cool observation for the masses. Like I was saying, we did have an alleged mortgage on our home, and when you're going through your days and you're making ends meet, you feel like you have a mortgage on your home. You don't really, if you go deep in, you really don't feel like you own your home. I never believed anyone owns property. I've always honored Mother Earth, and we are her guardians. But anyway, the past few days, a lot of changes this week. I'm going about the house, and I'm going to fix that, or I'm going to do this. And there was something different about how I was feeling in the house. And I realized that we now really own it, like the building part, in that sense, if you want to use that word.
Yep.
They don't anymore. That has gone. I walked around the house thinking that thought and feeling it. That's real. That actually happened in the last few days. Since I sent that courtesy notice to that particular person with that alleged blah-de-blah, that feeling has gradually morphed into my being, and I didn't really I knew something felt different until I stopped to really ponder it. That's what happened.
Very empowering.
That the shackles, if you want to put that on it, rather than saying, yeah, we own it, because I don't believe in that, but the shackles are taken off of it.
Yep, I have felt that too, Diane.
Yeah,
Now
it's really cool.
I'm sorry to cut you so short, but with only less than 2 minutes left, I wondered if Anton would... I'd like to say thank you so much for participating today.
Thank you, Anton.
You enraptured many, many people, and I was wondering if you had any closing statement that you would like to leave us with.
Well, I can tell you what, the pleasure is absolutely mutual. You are such a great bunch of people to chat to. Enlightening, you are inspiring. It's beautiful. To add on to Diane's thing of feeling different in the house, and also to the previous thing that Tim mentioned about the communities and how do you meet people, to me, it's summarized in 2 letters, in capitals. Be. Be who you are, and you will attract. It is amazing who you start meeting when you be. And
Thank you, Anton.
Absolute pleasure. Why do you think we all met here tonight?
That's so true.
And
who'd have thunk it, right?
The house absorbs your energy, and once you are in harmony with it, it will work with you.
Yeah, that's
right.
It
will work with you.
Beautiful.
Everything is on your side. You are on everything's side. Even if it appears to be against you, we are all in this together.
Thank you,
and
Diane.
if we stop dividing and fighting, we can go forward together.
Okay.
Anton, you keep moving me to tears. How your words come out from the absolute core of your heart. My eyes keep misting up when you speak. Thank you.
Stop peeling onions when you're listening to me. Thank you very much,
Okay,
Diane.
we've totally run out of time now, so tootsie.
Love you all.
Thank you, Jane. Good night. Thank you very much for the show, guys. I loved it. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Namaste.